Read instruction before use, not for stovetop use. Always stir before pressing down using a plastic or wooden spoon, not metal. Children and hot fluids should be kept apart. Boy, ain't that the truth. Oh, hi there. Didn't realize we started. Welcome to my Physicist game review, where we'll be looking at Hitman 2016 in our first ever episode. Please enjoy. Hitman 2016 is the sixth Hitman game in the Hitman franchise. Being titled just Hitman, in order not to confuse it with the first Hitman game ever released back in the year 2000, now we have to add 2016 at the end of the title just to figure out which game we're talking about. Now technically the first Hitman game was called Hitman Codename 47, therefore the plain Hitman title was not used in the franchise before, so this game kind of gets away with it.
So what happens now?
One might think this game is a reboot of the franchise, but this isn't exactly true. Events from the previous games are referenced here and there, and the protagonist Agent 47's backstory is still kept intact from the old titles. Hitman as a franchise was never really about delivering a strong story or narrative to the player, but rather it was about providing the player with interesting locales as mini assassination sandboxes and letting them wreak havoc in creative ways to eliminate their targets. Therefore, whether or not the game is a reboot at the end of the day is pretty irrelevant, and I understand the developer's decision to reset the game's title to potentially not scare away newcomers to the franchise. However, if numbers in a title is scary, then there might be bigger problems in life for you. The game starts off with a tutorial segment in an undisclosed secret facility in the year 1999, where a young 47 is there for a job application as an assassin. Even though the location of this secret assassin base is never outright revealed to the player, looking at the in-game scenery, I think we can make a couple of guesses. The snowy mountainous area narrows it down to high latitude cold climate areas of the Earth, but doesn't really provide us with an answer for which country or which continent this place is in. It could very well be in America or Russia. Looking at the helicopter which brings 47 in, we can see that it sort of resembles a NATO design rather than an ex-Soviet or Russian design. So we can either narrow down the location to Northern Europe or Northern America. Seen as the characters in the organization either have American or British accents, I'm inclined to say that the location of the base is in either Northern USA or Canada. A close third answer might be the developer IO Interactive's own country of origin, Denmark, as they do have pretty mountain ranges there as well. The game drops us into a tutorial scenario which resembles real-life wooden training house structures used by special forces, or I guess airsoft players as well. Looking at, we seem to be inside of a missile silo. Even though it's mostly boring wood and metal all around, I'm impressed to see how realistic they tried to make this place. The game then teaches you the basic mechanics such as knocking out enemies, getting their disguises, hiding their bodies, and generally show how the gameplay is going to be working from now on. But it's not too hand-holdy. And there's a new addition called Enforcer NPCs, which are indicated by a white dot on top of them, who recognize you if you're wearing the same disguise as them. So there's still some NPCs in the game who you actively try to avoid sometimes. There's also a new addition to the game called the Intuition mechanic. When you press the button, it sort of goes into an X-ray mode where all of the NPCs are highlighted and your targets are highlighted in red. I was initially skeptical about this, as it had the potential to make the game really easy. But then I remembered back in the old Hitman games, they had a real-time map mechanic which served the same exact purpose. You'd open the map and every NPC would be shown and your targets would be highlighted in red as well. The Intuition mechanic is essentially the map mechanic, but now it's in the 3D world space. I think it's a much better way of doing things for this franchise in particular. I was originally going to put a part here ranting about how it was unnecessary to remove the map function from the game entirely and substitute it with the frankly tiny minimap and the intuition mechanic. However, when I was capturing the final footage for this review to use as sort of a B-roll, I noticed that the map is actually in the game. It's just hidden really well by the developers for some silly reason. In order to access the map, you have to press the F1 key. Then realize there's a separate map tab on the top and then click it. Normally you'd press a single key like M or tab to access a map in a game, or press escape to go to a menu and then click on a map. I checked the game's keybinds for a map key and there was no option for a map. I just assumed they gutted the map function from the game. It took me 8 hours of playtime to realize the map existed, and by that time I had completed the entire game. And I guess it sort of complements how well the intuition mechanic works, but it's really silly to bury a function of the game in a weird sub-menu. After the basic tutorial is done, the game asks you to complete the same mission again, but without any instructions from the game itself this time. I suppose they're trying to emphasize the replayable sandbox nature of the game. This time I try to assassinate the target by dropping a life raft on him, but I get noticed doing so. Now you can manually save and load your game at any point, which is a mechanic I really like, but sometimes it's more exciting trying to recover from your failure rather than loading instantly. And yes, I just realized watching the footage that the helicopter was an exit point I could have taken. Oh well, it was more exciting this way.
Got no visual.
After this, you are given one final mission to complete. The American guy, Soders, does not like you for some reason and wants you to fail, while the British woman Diana likes you for some reason and wants you to succeed. Naturally, I don't want to be part of this workplace drama and proceed to launch the target using the jet's ejection seat. These people must be really well-paid actors to agree to getting beat up, shot, and being ejected 50 meters into the air for some sort of job application training process. After the tutorials are completed, we get a montage of 47's assassinations. I recognize some of them from the previous titles. The pufferfish assassination was definitely from Hitman 2. The pool assassination was from Hitman Contracts, and the cello assassination was from Hitman Blood Money. But I couldn't recognize the two others. Maybe the sniper rifle was Li Hong assassination from the first game, but I'm not sure. It would be really cool to see someone try to make a timeline of the events in the Hitman games, because there are so many games and so many missions that I'm sure that some of them must be conflicting with one another at this point. I guess I should talk about the game's story for a little bit. This review does talk about things which may be considered as spoilers all throughout, but trust me, there really is no story to speak of in this game. You are not missing out on anything meaningful. There is a shadowy organization, which I'm just going to call the Illuminati, trying to wrestle away power from the secret assassin club which 47 is a part of. There is also an unnamed man who may or may not be an assassin. He's trying to take down the Illuminati and possibly the secret assassin club as well. The unnamed man does not kill 47 when he has a clear shot on him, because I guess they used to be childhood friends, I think? That part wasn't really clear. Anyways, turns out Soders, the American man, sold out the secret assassin club to the Illuminati because the Illuminati promised to give him a super special heart transplant operation because his heart is on the wrong side of his body. And all first 5 levels of the game was Soders making us do his dirty work. I think. Anyway, we kill Soders in the final mission and the game ends on a cliffhanger where an Illuminati man comes and threatens Lady Diana. Then the credits start to roll. So yeah, when I said the story wasn't important to the Hitman franchise, I really meant it. This could barely pass for a dumb plot for a James Bond or a Jason Bourne movie. Since we established that the story is nonsense, let's look at the real meat of the game, the gorgeous locales the assassinations take place. First we have the Paris mission, which takes place in a lavish fashion show event. I haven't been to a real fashion show personally. I've only watched a couple of seasons of RuPaul's Drag Race on television, but I'm still pretty impressed with the effort they spent here.
I'm just saying. Oh, hello,
You have the makeup rooms backstage, you have the cocktail lounge, you have the poor waiters having breakdowns and crying in the locker rooms.
I just can't do this. I just can't. It's gonna be okay. No, they're all normal. They're treating me like dirt.
And finally, there's some sort of art gallery upstairs. The game has an opportunity system where it gives you hints as to how you can participate in a highly scripted yet very high quality events in order to achieve a kill or at least get close to a target. Naturally, for this mission, you get to disguise yourself as a fashion model and walk the runway. And for some reason you get to meet the target after you walk the runway. After taking her out, for the final target I opted to pose as a bartender and poison his drink, and then ran away from the place. The Paris mission also pulls double duty as the Christmas special. The level is unchanged, but now is decorated with Christmas ornaments, and now your targets are changed to 2 different people. The second mission takes place in Sapienza, Italy, where we need to eliminate a couple of targets and destroy a bioweapon inside a secret underground laboratory. It's again a cliché James Bondish premise, so I guess we'll roll with it. I have to say the environment is quite gorgeous and captures that Mediterranean Italy feeling. It's sunny outside, there's some ships sailing out in the distance. If anything, I think it could have been more crowded with a bunch of wind sails zipping around at the sea, but I suppose the evil lab people may have prohibited any sailing activity close to their lair. Now something about this game starts bugging me right around this mission. Everybody's speaking in a perfect American English accent, even though we're supposed to be in Italy.
This seagull, demon straight out of Hitchcock. It comes swooping down from out of nowhere and attacks this cyclist, like head on.
This is something that commonly occurs in movies and video games, depending on the genre. It can be okay sometimes. But for a game that is going for this much immersion with its environments, putting these American-speaking Italians into the game just breaks my immersion. Ideally, I would want Italian-speaking Italian with English subtitles to go along. But I would also be okay with exaggerated Italian-English accents if finding native Italian-speaking people is just not feasible. Anyway, I knock out the poor delivery guys who had an accident with the cyclist man. Then I steal their disguise and deliver the flowers to the evil man's mansion. Turns out the flower delivery is for the evil man's relative's grave, which happens to be right next to the mini golf course. That's weird. The butler doesn't pay me for the delivery, so I guess I'll stick around the grave for someone to come and pay. Oh, you're here. Well, I might as well get rid of you then.
Next up, Francesca DeSantis.
Next, I find the lab code and head into the secret lair. Here I demonstrate why a physicist should not be let inside the genetics lab.
Dangerous compound. Processing. Test sample incompatible.
Not good. Somebody brought their senile aunt or something? Who's leaving stuff like this?
Proceeding to that formula CMWH.
Not good, not good, not good, not good. He's to your hand here. Oh, shit.
Warning, temperature. Warning, temperature critical.
After screwing up the virus, the final target enters the lab without any hazmat suit. I suppose she never listened to those lab technicians telling her to wear safety goggles during the lab courses in her freshman year. I calmly steal a plane and escape. Sapienza Mission also pulls triple duty with 2 other variants, but I will make a segue here regarding the game's menus. As you can see, everything in the main menu is made out of squares, which takes up a bunch of unnecessary space. The Sapienza level menu contains bonus variants, but they're locked to the right side of these squares. There are no indications as to more squares being to the right of the screen, no arrows, or anything. I accidentally find out while hovering the mouse over there. You may say that this was designed with a controller in mind, but it still has the same problem. Unless you go right manually, there is no indication for you that more content is sneakily hidden there. It's like the hidden map function all over again. The game has a serious UI problem. Now you might have noticed in some of these menu squares that there's some DLC for this game. The Get Access squares are for the DLC content for the game, which I do not own. Going to the store page for the DLC confused me further. The DLC is only sold as a bundle together with some outfit pack, which I do not care for whatsoever. But if I want the DLC, then I have to buy this clown outfit as well. Looking at the DLC reviews, it seems that they are just more variants on the existing levels and are not any major new locales, so I decided to skip them and save myself some money. Now, originally, a friend of mine gifted me this game from one of his Humble bundles, and it appears that I own the full Hitman experience. See, says it right there. Now you might think like a reasonable, sane person and assume that full means the base game plus the DLC. But no, that's the Game of the Year edition, you silly. To add further confusion to the pile, when this game was released back in 2016, it got released in an unfinished state where it only had the Paris mission to start with. Following the release, every month they added the remaining missions as further DLC to the game. So the base game is actually made up from 5 separate DLCs. Who thought this was a good idea? That someone would want to buy only half of the game? This seems like a very strange way of releasing the game as early access on Steam, but avoid being called an early access game. This is further strengthened by the fact that they have done the same confusion fest with the sequel Hitman 2 2018. Okay, rant's over. Let's check the alternate Sapienza variants now. First one of them opens up in the beach with some sort of election beach party? That's weird, but I have seen politicians do stranger things. Anyway, I grab a bodyguard disguise, climb some roof.
What the hell are you doing up there? Take it.
And snipe the guy, then escape.
Excellent work, 47. The money has been wired.
The other variant is more interesting, where a movie production is making a sort of a superhero movie, and you're trying to assassinate the lead man who is inside some sort of a bulletproof suit. I try to get him to impale on the giant alien prop, but that doesn't work, so I shoot him in the head with the silenced pistol a bunch of times, then he dies, then I escape.
Move principal and confirm the location is secure! Go! No Bosco's been killed! Move! Please, you gotta help. I'm calling for help.
Hey, what's the situation here? You look freaked out.
Okay, we gotta do the moon test. Let's do the moon test. Now, I'm no astrophysicist, that ship has sailed for me long ago, but I have casually dabbled in astronomy, so I kind of know what I'm talking about here. In some games, the moon appears way bigger than it should be, way bigger than it is in real life. But looking at the moon in-game, I have to say that Hitman 2016 passes the moon test. So, congratulations Hitman 2016. You got the moon right. So yeah, here's the moon in real life. That's how it looks like. I also try to shoot my way through just for fun, and you can see why I did not mention the gunplay in the game. is pretty bare bones third-person cover shooting. The game actually penalizes you greatly if you're outnumbered. You can try to play with guerrilla tactics by shooting and hiding, as the AI doesn't know your exact location and needs to actually make eye contact with you. I think that's a really cool addition to this game. Marrakesh is our third mission, and it's one of my favorites in the game. This mission contains a giant bazaar and an ongoing riot in front of a Swedish embassy. This bazaar is really crowded, just like as it should be in real life. I almost feel nostalgic now that I haven't seen this crowded of a space in almost a year at this point. But then the anxiety of getting pickpocketed kicks back in, and I'm glad we're inside a video game. I'm impressed how well the game is running with this many NPCs on the screen. I'm playing with a relatively low-end system at this point, and I'm getting almost a locked 60 FPS at 720p, and then I tried 1080p and it was hovering around 40s. So good job developers for making a game that looks this well and plays this well. The shisha place looks pretty genuine. I have seen a couple that look the part, but I've never seen anyone with a fancy pool in the middle though. I had to load my save a couple of times trying to get the crew disguise, because for some reason I was getting spotted by different people.
Weapons hot.
The hell are you doing? You're gonna fry for this one, you criminal. That's gonna...
Help! He killed him!
Hey, mister, this your work? Huh? Hey, you hearing impaired?
Eventually I sort things out and get the disguise, then head to the embassy to join the news crew. The riot in front of the embassy is honestly pretty weak. I've seen my fair share of riots in real life, and they usually don't go this peaceful. These NPCs are pretty orderly, they're even letting us pass with no problem whatsoever. I think a better way to depict this riot would be to show a wall of police or soldiers holding back the rioters with shields, while a bunch of them behind the shields fire off tear gas into the crowd. This riot is pretty tame compared to the real thing. Anyway, we get inside the embassy to interview the Swedish target. And wouldn't you know, he fakes a Swedish English accent while talking.
Capital, you made it. Come on in. Come in, good. Pam Kingsley, a pleasure. I watch your show all the time. You're even more lovely in the flesh. And this is...
Tyler Clark, producer. And this is our cameraman, Finley.
Tyler and Finley. Splendid. Well, let's do this, shall we? Where do you want me? The light is nice over here. Not that I want to tell you boys how to do your jobs, good heavens.
Well, right here is fine, Mr. Strandberg. Sit down, make yourself comfortable, and we'll be ready in no time.
Oh, no, please, please. Call me Klaus.
Just why? Why, game? Why do you keep confusing me like this? I just want some consistency in life. So anyway, I drop a moose on the target and head to the second one.
For the last 7 years, you have been the CEO.
Hey, if you can hear me, you...
With some improvisation, I grab a soldier outfit.
Release the body, now! Do it!
And then I easily dispatch the final target, then escape. The bonus stage to this level doesn't change much, it's just set during the night. I start climbing the rooftops, And here they mute the radio when the mosque starts broadcasting. That's some real nice attention to detail. Once up top, I tried this cool sniper kill using the X-ray vision, and wouldn't you know, the game has actual bullet penetration. I test the bullet penetration on the second target too, and it works just as well. Then I casually walk out of the place. The fourth mission takes place in Bangkok. I've never been to Bangkok, but the scenery depicted here is just lovely. Here we can see one of my nemesis of video game rendering techniques, screen space reflections. They can only reflect things that are on screen and disappear like ghosts. I'm surprised because the game has actual working mirrors throughout the missions, and that's a rare thing to see inside video games now. This time the mission takes place inside a hotel, so I can excuse the English accents for this mission. The rockstar target allegedly killed his girlfriend, but was never proven guilty, so walks free at the moment. The girl's parents are rich and they want the target dead. While I'm not an expert on law, shouldn't you at least need some damn fine proof to warrant taking someone's life? Oh well, I guess it's one of those rich people things. Good thing we're playing a hitman and not a lawyer, I guess. The other target is, I think, the rockstar's lawyer? I'm not sure on that. Anyway, I assassinate him with a sniper rifle from the balcony and then I call room service.
The bed is not properly made. See that it's done right away.
Next, I steal some drummer man's disguise and introduce myself to the rockstar target. Turns out 47 has been taking some drum lessons between assassinations. Rockstar dude smokes inside the building, like a true rockstar. Then we go onto the roof to talk about rockstar life stuff. Then he falls to his death. For the fifth mission, we go to Colorado, USA, and it's my least favorite mission in the game. It's just a boring farmhouse out in the middle of nowhere where a pseudo-paramilitary cult or whatever has occupied the place and turned it into a training ground. Everyone here is armed to the teeth with weapons and they shoot on sight. There are no civilians in this mission to disguise yourself as. I find this place pretty hard to believe. These people are armed to the teeth with fully automatic military-grade weapons and have their own custom hacking network or something. There is no way that this would go unnoticed. The FBI or the ATF or whatever would come knocking on their farm as soon as they realize something like this is going on. Now you may say that they recently moved here and they don't intend to stay here for long, but I don't buy that. Look at here. The setup they have with all their equipment, their barracks, their computers and whatnot, I think they must have been here for at least a couple of weeks. And I want to briefly mention that this whole place reminds me of the resistance caps in XCOM 2. And come to think of it, 47's shotgun also reminds me of the shotgun from XCOM 2 as well. I managed to assassinate two of the targets with this custom battering ram thing they made. I don't know why they need a custom battering ram. They could have just used one of their trucks to ram into the limo. But I guess they didn't want to pay any extra accident insurance next year. I managed to shoot the last two targets while no one is looking with the silenced pistol. And apparently one of the targets is a fan of Michael Myers. Then I learn I need someone's face to enter the secret bunker. Well, that's no problem because there's a 3D printer upstairs. After getting inside the bunker, we find a picture of Soders laying on the desk, and immediately conclude that Soders was selling us out to the Illuminati. Now I admit finding the picture here is very suspicious, but isn't it an extreme leap of logic to claim that someone is selling you out just because you found a picture of them in an enemy bunker? It could be that they're planning to assassinate him or something. And now we come to the final mission, which takes place in Hokkaido, Japan. But they're kind of cheating because it's like a super advanced hospital up in the mountains. But I give them a pass because the scenery is just gorgeous. Looking around, I notice these flying lanterns. Now I think they're called wishing lanterns as well, where you make a wish, light the candle, and let the lantern fly. Well, I hate these stupid lanterns so much you wouldn't believe. Back when I was an undergrad, during spring break festivals, people would buy these lanterns and light them up, and then let them loose during concerts. The problem here is that the stadium which the concerts took place was surrounded by a forest, so some of these lanterns would inevitably get stuck in the tree branches and keep on burning. Then you'd have a couple of people running around in the forest trying to get these stupid lanterns down or extinguish them to prevent a forest fire. And other times, people releasing the lanterns would botch up or the wind would be unfavorable. So you'd have lanterns literally dive-bombing people on the stadium steps, and then people are panicking and trying to dodge them or swat away the stupid things. And most of these things eventually end up in the ocean if you're near a coastal city as well. So you have the additional pollution aspect on top of all this crap. Anyway, don't buy these things if you're trying to impress your girlfriend or your boyfriend. You probably have bigger problems to solve in your relationship if you think buying a fire hazard is going to save it. Moving on. We're here to eliminate Soders, who is here to get his special heart surgery. And while we're here, Diana asks us to eliminate another woman who I think is one of the managers or something. Well, that's not a problem. This whole facility is AI controlled and it dictates who can go in and out of which room. Oh, and it also controls the toilet seats as well. Since 47 is healthy as a mule, we can't fake a heart attack or something to get a doctor in the room. So I shimmy along the balcony to the next room and disguise myself as another patient and fake a heart attack. Once the doctor is in, I steal his disguise as well. Now we can freely move around the facility. Honestly, I'm not really impressed with this facility AI thing. It isn't very smart. All it takes is just the disguise to fool it. Nah, I don't think it's good. I would have put a couple of fingerprint, retinal, or hell, full face scanners on some doors, and it probably would have made the place much more secure. And all of this would probably cost much less than an AI system. And hey, if you really think those toilet seats are essential, don't worry, we can probably do the same thing with simple motion sensors as well. The manager lady wants a yoga lesson, so I disguise myself as one and do my best as a yoga instructor.
Now, this is a view to die for.
It goes as well as you think. And for the last target, Soders, I decide to sabotage the heart he's going to be receiving for the transplant, but the room is protected by 2 guards. Now normally I'd just shoot them with the silence pistol and then sabotage, but I decide to follow an opportunity related with the heart. It turns out that one of the surgeons here receives his medication via a wireless remote control mechanism. While I think this is a horrible idea in real life, because someone can just steal your remote and mess with your medication like we do here in the game.
Oh, the shapes. It's beautiful. Exactly as it needs to be. Oh, a place for everything and everything in its proper place. Oh my goodness. Oh, why haven't I noticed before? I need to share this with my babies.
I think this may be a genuine necessity in some cases where the medication needs to be inside the body, like the brain. Anyway, I don't know much about biomedical stuff, so I'll just end this by saying that maybe that remote should have had like a PIN code or something, so it makes it less likely that someone messes with it. The doctor gets high on medication and shoos the guards away. Then 47 swoops in and destroys the heart in a pretty heavy metal fashion. And we get on a snowmobile and escape. Before I get to the conclusion part of the video, I want to talk about the online components and the user-generated content of the game. This game wants you to be always online, even though you're playing a single-player game. If you try to play the game in offline mode, then the game locks away your mission challenge progression and your overall weapon and gadget progression. I suppose this is done as a semi-DRM feature where they wanted to make sure people who pirated the game got an incomplete experience. But the problem is, IO Interactive servers are so awful that you constantly lose connection to them, and the game forces you to play in offline mode. So again, a feature meant to be an anti-piracy measure ends up hurting the paying customer in the end. The game also features a user-generated contracts mode where other players can modify a little bit of the mission parameters to provide artificial challenges to each other. While it sounds cool on paper, you are at the end of the day trying to assassinate a random NPC on a set mission. This isn't like modding tools or a map editor for the game, so I honestly didn't even bother with this feature. The final bit of content this game has, or rather had in the past, are the elusive targets. These are special assassination missions which players only had 48 hours to complete when they came out. Naturally, playing the game 4 years down the line, I can't participate in any of these because I chose to be financially responsible with my money. This is baffling. Why not let everyone play these missions after the fact, just not let them submit anything to the leaderboard? All of these missions have a special intro cinematic you can still watch to this day, and some of them had genuine gimmicks that changed how the gameplay worked. See, this mission had twins where one of them was the real target and you'd need to check their wristwatch to find the real one. This is just the games as a service, you always have to be online to prove you're not a filthy pirate nonsense that's going on. They're making the customer have a worse experience and making your game have less inherent value over time. If anyone has figured a way to mod or hack these missions back into the game, please let me know. I would like to try at least a couple of these. Okay, let's conclude this video, shall we? Hitman 2016, I think, is a pretty good video game. And a damn good Hitman game at that. I can easily recommend it to newcomers of the series as a starting point, because the game is so excellently tutorialized. Although I might have to dock a couple of points because of this online DRM thing that's going on, and the frankly confusing monetization scheme. I don't know what they were thinking with that. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please leave a like. And maybe comment down below to see how I can improve these videos. I know I need a better quality mic, so I'll work on that. Take care of yourselves, and goodbye.